Ois base. Hine lekarim el haseichel inyan chotzer hachitzono v'chotzer hapnimi ubeis hamelach. He's going to discuss now. He wants to make it closer to our seichel to understand. We find the courtyard, the external one, the one outside. We find the inner chotzer, and then we find the house of the king. The Rebbe is going to explain that the more Gilui Elikus we have, that's called a home. The home of the king is where the king is more open. It's not hidden, not blocked. The external courtyard is further away. Pnimius is still closer. And he explains that it has to do with the idea of oisius. The letters are the ones that block, allow for the king's or the person's chokhmah to come to the other party, to the someone else. Sometimes it's very strong letters. That's called like the oisius hadibur, in which it is very hidden. Then you have oisius hamachshava, which it comes out within the power of the person's thought, which is not so hidden. And then we have the house. The house is where it's no oisius at all. It's totally open over there. We're going to explain. Similar to what we explained before. Letters are called stones. He brought from the Sefer Yitzira that two stones build two homes. The two stones means two letters can make two different combinations. Aleph, base, aleph. The tzirufeim, when you combine the stones, you combine them, they're nikroim, they're called chatzerei subotim. They're called courtyards and homes. And it's known sheyesh oisius hadibur ve'oisius hamachshava. There is letters in speech; those are really identifiable. When you speak, comes out the actual words. But there's also letters of thought. When you're thinking, you're also thinking with letters. Those are ways of the seichel going down to your thought, so you can think about something, so it comes out in letters of machshavos. And the difference is letters of speech come out from the hidden to the open lechutz, lezulosei to another person, benase bechina b'fnei atzmei, they become a level independent entity by itself. There are words. Once you speak words and they come out of your mouth, there is an entity of words which you have spoken. So that is the level of letters of speech. There's a separate madrega now called of letters. Zeu inyan, and this is the idea of a chotzer hachitzona. This is the external chotzer. Because it's come outside, it's gone away from the person. As opposed to the letters of thought, sheheim bechinas helen. They are hidden, those letters, v'machshove, hi misachedes im hanefesh hamaskeles tomid. The thought is always united with the soul that thinks all the time, believe Biur, without separation. That's why that is what's called the internal chotzer, because it's connected always with the abayis, it's connected with the seichel, with the letters. Talks over there the idea of machshava dibur that corresponds to beginas bria v'yitzira chulu ayin sham, relative to the revelation from Atzilus. So the level of bria, that's like the letters of machshava, And the letters of Yitzira is like the letters Oisius from Dibur, that external, Ayin Sham. When we talk about the level of the house of the king, Shugam King, Me'avonim, you still have their stones and letters. Ella Shamelech Dorbay Bikvius. What is a house is the place where the king lives there on a permanent basis. Masha'enkim b'chotzer, as opposed to the chotzer, the king does not live there. So by giving an example from below, the letters are hiding, they block the seichel. The ein asmius haseichel misgale mitoich. The essence of the seichel is not revealed from the letters. In other words, the letters don't give you the essence of the seichel. On the contrary, letters you can sometimes read in the book and say the words, and you don't understand what you're saying. So letters really block; they don't give out the seichel itself. Sometimes the wisdom does not reveal at all from the letters. For example, somebody who learns in a sefer, he understands the letters, and he doesn't understand the meaning of the words. So you see that just the words are not really chokhmah, ube'emes. Afilu oisius hamachshove. So these are letters that are in a sefer that you're listening to or you're hearing. But even when you talk about the oisius hamachshove, ein atzmius hachokhmah mizgale bohem klal. The essence of the chokhmah is not revealed in them at all. V'lochein b'riya. And that's why B'riya, Shehi, Machshava, which is the level of Machshava. We mentioned before B'riya and Yitzira. So even B'riya, which is Machshava, we call it a creation of Yesh Mi'ayin because they're not the essence of Atzilus is not in there. The Pirush over there, and he explains in the meaning of Boire Kedoshim Yishtabach Shimcha Kul V'Lachein Nikroim B'chinas Oisius L'Mailo. So therefore, when we talk about the letter of Oisius above, they're called B'chinas Chotzer. They're called the Chotzer. She'ein Hamelech Dorba. The king does not dwell in the Chotzer. As opposed to the house of the king, in which the king lives there permanent in a permanent way. Those are the level of oisius in which they get the essence of the supreme chokhmah. Over there, the letters should not block and hide. So we have the different levels of letters, a level of Chakika, which is level of Atzmius, which is in a higher level. So similarly, we have in the service of Hashem, yes, Bechinas, we have like this, we have the level of Yizkoin Chatzedecho, Pasuk says, to dwell in Hashem's courtyard. That's one. Ubechinas of Nizba Betul Beisecho, over the bayis, to be satisfied in the good of your house. So you have the level of dwelling in the Hashem's chotzer, and you have the satisfying by being the good of Hashem's home. The Hainu, what is that in first? Mishu Eisek B'Torah Tefillah U'Mekaven Es Liba Da'Oisish Shebehem Levado. A person who occupies himself in Torah, so you're in the chotzer of Hashem, but you're only mekaven your heart to the letters that is in the Torah and the Tefillah. Zeu b'chinas yishkin chatzerecha. That is the level of yishkin chatzerecha. Afshu b'chinas chotzer apnimis. Even though that this is the inner chotzer, because he occupies the Torah and Tefillah, but it's only chatzerecha. But one who deeply puts his mind and his intellect, not just to say the words, but to understand the meaning of the words of the davening. Till the place where his hand reaches. In other words, we're up to you. You try to figure out and understand to the extent that you are able to. And also in the intense figuring out to depth of the looking into Torah in the seichel, you understand, you to try to understand the Torah that you're learning. That's already being satisfied in the good of Beisachal. That's already Hashem's home. Why? Because the Torah is the supreme heichal, the supreme palace of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's his room. And when you are dwelling into that, then you're dwelling into Hashem's home. That's the home of Hashem. Hashem lives in Torah. When you're in it, then you're getting Hashem's home of Torah. So, inyan kolsa nafshi lechatzres Hashem. So, Pashut means my soul expires to the courtyard of Hashem. But he says the word kolsa is the idea of kala. As we learned before, you have the level of Erusin, you have the level of betrothal kiddushin, but you also have the level of nisui, of marriage. Marriage is a greater connection, a dwelling place, living together, versus just being a kala while you're still separate. That level of kolso nafshi lechasvis Hashem shenikra kala v'aruso levad. That is when Knesset Yisrael is called only a kala and an arusa. Although lefi shemekabeles rak mevchinas chatzeres, because only receiving the level of chatzeres, shehem oisius levad. That is just the level of oisius. Zo inyan kiddushin. This is the idea of kiddushin. Betrothal, not marriage. As mentioned earlier, inside, that is the previous Mamer he's referring to, that Kiddushin or Mamer inyan echadu, that Kiddushin and Mamer is one idea. So when we say, as Hashem Hamarta, or we talk about the Asore Mamoris, it's one thing, and that's the speech of Torah. Mamer, Hainu Oisius HaTorah, Mamer, that is the saying, those are the letters of the Torah. That's the level of makif, like the ring of the Kiddushin, which is a makif. But when we talk about the level of iyun haTorah, looking into it intensely, understanding and looking to Torah, sheniklat b'nafshei hasogas haTorah, that in his soul is absorbed the grasping of the Torah, shehi tipas chochmei lo, that's the seed, that's the drop of the chochmei lo that he is contemplating. And also in the davening, not just davening the words, not just, but it's being absorbed. The tefillah liyas niklat reimus havaya el toich toiches, so that the exaltness of Hashem is being absorbed into the inside of his inside. Upnimiyusei the kerem ish v'leiv amuch, very deep in the heart, inside the person. Zehu nikra b'chinas nisuin. That's called the level of marriage. B'chinas pnimis, that's the level of pnimis. That's already the base, and that's like when the kallah comes into the house, moves in with the chosin. That means they become a marriage over there. That's the level when you absorb and you unite with the Torah and the davening in a way that it's absorbed. The greatness of Hashem, the understanding of Torah inside, that is the level of marriage. Gimel. But understand the pasuk that it says ve'irastich li. What does it mean to me? Ve'irastich li. It's going to explain that there's different levels of in the erusin also, and there's a level of ve'irastich li to me, which would really refer to the level of keser, to the level of atik. Higher, it becomes to the level of li, and that's why it becomes eternal also. That's even the erusin. The erusin is li. So what is the idea of ve'irastich li? In the Yuvon, Bahagdid Pidush, who understand this by introducing the explanation of Mashakosu b'medrash Shechetei, the medrash Shechetei Parsha Yutes al Posik, Melei Karnecho Shemen, Melei Eshlachacho Yishai Chulu. Fill your keren, the horn, with oil, and I'm going to send you to Yishai. Shem is sending Shmuel HaNovi to anoint and make David HaMelech the king. So it says over there that Kol Mokoim Shenemar Li, wherever it says Li, in the word Ein Zos, Loi Ba'olam Hazeh, Loi Ba'olam Hazeh. Then it doesn't move, not in this world and not in the world to come. Li means that it's always. To me, it's permanent. Cheinu Gamkin B'medrash Rabba Parsha Yikra Parsha Beis Ein Zos Loi B'chulu. From the word that it doesn't move, it's always. Li means always. The parsha is used to the Biur al Posik, Zocher es Yom HaShabbos. The Inyan Mamer Shmuel says the Shoel, V'gam Netzach Yisrael lo yishaker v'lo yinochem ki lo odom hu lo yinochem. He's saying when after Shmuel told Shaul that he's no longer a king, Shaul asked him, please come with me and be, show me covered over there. So he answered him, he says, Hashem is not a man to change his mind, and the attorney, so what's going on over here? So basically, as the Rebbe explains here, that the kingdom of David comes from the level Kiloi Odamu, from a higher level, not where there is a man. There is a level, a manifestation of godliness where it dresses up within Atzilus, which is called Odom. It's called a Parshas. There is a human. But when it comes from the level Kiloi Odamu, which is not the level of Odom, over there is no changes. Over there is the lead. Over there is the eternal. Let's look inside. Shaul asks from him that he wanted to have back the kingdom. The Heishiv lo Shmuel, and Shmuel responded. Since it's already been given to David, we can't remove the kingdom from him. Why? Because the kingdom of the house of David is taken from a very high place. That's a level of Adam who Linochem. He's not a place of Menlo. Below Kim Malchus shows Shenilkecha Beginners Adam. Unlike the kingdom of Shaul, which is taken from a place of Adam, which is Beginners Chacham. Ubechinas Adam Shayich Yimino Smola. When we talk about man over there, it applies the right to left. And over there, over there, the flow of the energy that comes from Hashem goes according to the action of the below, the recipients. That's why there is changes. But when we talk about the level which is higher than Adam, over there is lay smaller b'hayatika. There is no left. There's no right and left. There's no small b'chlal. In Atik there's no small. Because he is exalted higher than Moiselam. So it's higher and exalted and raised. So over there's no change, there's no smile, there's no relationship to the Maisa Tachtonim. There's no Inyan. Rama Karni, Batomrim Kirem Karni Chulu. And that's what we say that my Keren, Rama Karni, or Batorim Kirem Karni, this Psukim, which is talks about, it's raised from the higher place, the level of Atik. So Pirush, Inyan HaMedrash, and this is the meaning and the interpretation, the meaning of the Medrash. The Kol Mokum Shenemar Li Ein Zaz LeElam. Wherever it says Li, it doesn't move. Why? Ba'ainu Mibchinas Sho Mibchinas Lei Smol Chudu, because it's from the level where there is no left, no came LeAdam Hu LeEnochem. There is not shaykhs for like level of Adam to be Menochem. Ve'ein Shum Shinu, and there is no change. Again, so what do we have? So you started off explaining what is the idea of Li. So what do we see? Li Ein Zos LeElam really means that it's the level of Ati, and that's why it's always, it never changes. So we can move on. The Pirush Li. So what is the level meaning of Li? Hu b'chinas Atika, the level of Atika. Li, over there he translates La'atzmi, she'ein musar, that is not understood. So notwithstanding, so the Alter Rebbe says, even though he says it's Bina, so here we're trying to say Li is Ati, and La'asmi, and over there he says that it's the level of Bina. Lo Tabra, this didn't break it. It's not, that doesn't break up this idea. The Bina Nikra Gamke Atika Lepam. Because sometimes we refer to Bina as Atik Meshekosu. The Zohar says Parshas Koirach. It says this is who do Atika. That when it says V'Avda Levi who he says says Galus Atik who Bina Chulu, because Atik is revealed in Bina. So you see that Atik and Bina are related. So the fact that it says in the Pardes that it's level of Bina, it's still associated with Atik because as Galus Atik is in Bina. Ayin Beitz Chaim Shar Tikun Nukva Sefer Beis Hatam Shenikra Bina Hu Chulu. Yuvan Gamkin Inyan Mashakosu Beirastichli. So now we understand what the pasuk says. The Erusin should be Li. The Yiyu HaKiddushin Li Mamish. One, the Kiddushin, the betrothal should be to the level of Li, to the level of Atik. Because we say Asher Kiddushonu b'mitzvah. That the Eibush there betrothed us. Kiddushonu is like Kiddushin. You can't survive, but it also makes Kiddushin. So we're already Mikudeshas to the Eibush there. Who Gamkin Moshe Idusim Kiddushin. This is also the level of Edison and Kiddushin. Commercial Kosov Harado, it was brought down before in the Mamer, the same reference, Gavabirchas Netilas Yadayim, by the blessing of Netilas Yadayim. So over there he says, Kiddishonu means what? That Kiddishonu means betrothal. So since we already say, Asher Kiddishonu, that Asher betrothed us, he came out, Shonim Avakshim, Kadshenu B'mitzvah, Sechel Chulu Loshen Labo. Why are we saying, sanctify us or make us Mekudesh with your mitzvahs in a language of the future when we're saying, Sher Kiddishonu B'mitzvah, Sechel, that we already been sanctified. But this is the idea of the two levels of Kiddushin. There could be a level of Kiddushin, which is a level of Malchus, which is a level of Galus, Almad is Galia in Atzilus. But there could be the level of Li to the level of Atik. And that's why, while Kiddushin b'mitzvah, so we already have, but we say Kachenu Mitzvah Secha, so we reach the level of Eiras Tichli. But didn't Hashem already sanctify us? Why are we saying to Hashem Kachenu Mitzvah Secha? Inyan, like this, in the Mavur b'Makom Achar b'Biur, Apostle V'hoyo lochem litzitzis, by the mitzvah, Gabi uschartem es kol mitzvahs. The mitzvahs hem nikroim mitzvahs hamelch. Mitzvahs are called mitzvahs of the king. Why is mitzvah of the king? Because mitzvahs are associated with malchus. The Hainu, shem bechinas malchus atzilus. They are the level of malchus atzilus. Achshorsham, however, the source of the mitzvah will be zoh. It comes from the level of Zeid Ampin of atzilus. By Yidei, Saruso, the Latato, Shalom, Odom, Mamshich Liyas, mitzvah, a modern Malka, through the Saruso, the Latato, the person doing the mitzvah. So you bring down that the mitzvah should become a limb for Malka, a voting the Malka of the Malkas of the level of Malka. And further, they also bring down from the level of Arich Ampin, from the level of Keser into Zoh, through the mitzvahs that a person does. Further, this is explained elsewhere. The difference between the first time he says Mel is called Mitzvah Hashem, and then it says again the Shama, the person is the man Tiskiru. That's what I said. The Ogam came based Bechinas Anals of Mitzvah, two levels. One in the level of Malchus Atzilus, to be Mamshech level of Zoh, and one to be Mamshech Arich Ampin in Zoh. Ach Mekomo Kan Nevur Mishom Hatam Shenikra Bechinas Habeis Mitzvah Sai Mamish, because the first time it says Uschartem, that's called Mitzvah Hashem. We call them Mitzvah Hashem. The second time it says Mitzvah Sahai, Mamish, which is Shalamayim Shem Avayeh, which is Hayim Shem Avayeh, the Fishu Hamshochas Oirin Sof Be'atzma Gizov, because that's bringing down the essence of the Ein Sof and Zov. The Hainu Shemamshich Mebchinas Chayi Yechido Shalamayim Akeh, taken from the level of Chayi Yechida, which is Hayim Akeh. So Ani Avayeh, then it says, Ani Hashem, Shani Ubchinas HaKeser, Ani becomes Hashem, Vunim Shechli is Avayeh, Ani Hashem Ubchinas Mitzvah Say Mamish. And there's a level of Mitzvah Say, Mischatem is called Mitzvah Say. V'ayim HaShechos Biur Apostle V'adavar Elikim, the Seres Adibris Bein and Zeh, this concept, as the king spoke, the Shurish HaMitzvahs, who Hamshochas Arich Ampin, that the root of the mitzvahs is bringing down Arich Ampin. V'ayim Mizeh, the Biur Apostle V'yisim Inim Nere Zoh, V'ayim Mizeh B'geres HaKodesh V'Seifei, the Ramas Lov Mashkos V'Kreis Chaim. So Aderech Zeh Yesh Leimar, and similar to what we can say, Ma Shonu Mevakshim Kachenu B'Mitzvah Secho. When we ask that we should get the Kedushin Mitzvah Secho, Ava Pi Shonu Emrim, we already say Asher Kiddushonu B'Mitzvah, that we already Shekvar Kiddushonu, that he is already betrothed as before. Kima Shekvar Kiddushonu, what the level that he was Mekadosh already? Hainu Commotionim Shuchu HaMitzvahs Lamato, the B'chinas Malchus Datzilus HaMakabelos Mizah. That's the way the mitzvahs have been extended below from the level of Malchus Datzilus. In the level of Malchus Datzilus, receives Mizah. So that level of mitzvahs we already have. That's the Shekadishon B'mitzvahs. Avo Mashon Mevakshim Kachenu B'mitzvah Secho. But when we say Kachenu B'mitzvah Secho, that is Hainu B'chinas Ramach Evorim de Malcha. That's what we're asking to get the Evorim Malcha, the level of Zoh. Ikar Avshocha Zu, Hainu Avshochas Arech Ampin B'Zoh. That is to bring down the level of our Ampin in Zoh. K'moy ha'ever shemamshich chayis ha'nefesh mamash l'toichai. Just like a limb draws down the chayis of the soul inside it, when you do the mitzvah, you want to draw down the arich ampin, the essence, the chayis, the nefesh himself. Just like the ayin brings down the power of sin. But in the future to come, in which we say that what does it mean, lead to me? That is to the level of Arichampin. That is so as it's elevated into the level of and the Madrega Arichampin Mamish. That's what we call it. V'hainu Mashikosu b'mokamachar. Written of the Maskell and Mamer v'hoye mispar b'nei Yisrael. Asher lo yimad v'lo yisofek. So the deer, it's not going to be measured, it's not going to be counted. The mispar, hainu b'chinas ha-mitzvah shenitnu b'mispar. Mispar, that's the mitzvahs that have been given with a number, so there is an amount. But shelo osid lavoi, yisalu b'chinas l'smonosei ein mispar. There will be in a level. There is no number, so mitzvahs will come to the higher level, not in the level of Malchus, but in the level of Arichampi. Shu is inyan is galus Arichampi. That's the level of relation Arichampi. Shu b'chinas ein sof. V'ayin ma'ashikosu mizeh gamkin b'biur ha'posuk mimona ha'yakud u'mispar esrei Yisrael. V'azonu mevakshim, and that's what we're asking. Kachenu mitzvah to sanctify the mitzvah, to come to this higher level, to the level of Kachenu mitzvah. Okay, we'll leave it over here for now.